The Last Samurai is a 2003 film directed by Edward Zwick. It focuses on themes like tradition, progress, honor, loyalty, redemption, but the particular theme that I'm going to be focusing on in this video is the theme of adaptation. How having the willingness to adapt to new situations, to your environment, to challenges that arise in your life can mold you and ultimately determine your fate. So this is beautifully exemplified by the character of Algren and the samurai. So on one side you have Algren, who in the beginning of the film is not doing so well, right? He's an alcoholic. He's struggling with his past trauma, and he's just a very broken person, right? So he's hired to take on the samurai by the Imperial Japanese army, and he ends up being taken prisoner by them. And instead of fighting against them, instead of adopting, the natural response to that sort of scenario, which would be to wait for your comrades to come and save you, to wait for somebody else to get you out of that situation, Algren adapts to his new environment and to the people around him. He takes all the valuable lessons that he can from, his new friends. Ultimately, they become his friends. He learns, all these new lessons, and he adapts to his environment. And by the end of the film, he's able to, have a family, even though he's in a completely different scenario, in a different spot than he was in the beginning of the film. And I'm not a big fan of the romance arc that goes on in this film in general, but the message is clear. Those people that are willing to adapt, those willing to adapt to changes, those that face challenges head on and don't hide their face from the sun, basically, are the ones that are rewarded, right? So that doesn't mean that you should adapt to everything that goes on around you, or willing or freely accept the changes that are going on around you. To not be easily influenced by the people around you, to be very selective of the things that are happening to you in that regard, right? To not just be a blind sheep that just accepts everything and everyone that comes into his or her life. The sort of adaptation that I'm referring to is the one that Algren went through. When challenge and new opportunities arose in his life, instead of hiding away from it, he faced it, and he was rewarded because of it. He wasn't a victim of his environment. That's the point that I'm trying to make in this video. Because just think about it. What if Algren would have taken on a whole different attitude? What if he, instead of trying to adopt the samurai's ways, instead of trying to learn from the people around him, he would have just adopted this kind of victim mentality and said, oh, I'm a prisoner now, I'm just gonna wait for somebody to rescue me, right? And not really done anything about his situation, just kind of waited for somebody else to save him. The outcome would have been very different. And of course, it is a film. A lot of it is done for plot purposes, but the message is still there, right? Don't be a passive person. Don't be somebody who is a victim of their environment. Be proactive in your life and learn from anything and everyone that you can. Take the good from whatever situation and adapt to your environment for the better, right? There's this great quote from the Marine Corps that states, or this motto, one of the mottos that they have is improvise, adapt, and overcome. And this is just a very helpful motto to have in mind whenever you're going through challenges or whenever you're going through something difficult. When, your environment or, life is testing you, instead of adopting a weak victim mentality and giving into whatever, might be going on in your life, I think it's much more productive and a much more healthy thing to have this mindset. It's a very helpful thing. Improvise, adapt, overcome. Improvise, make the best of your situation. Try to figure out solutions to the problem, even though they might not be readily clear to you at the moment, right? There's always a way out if you look for one. Improvise, adapt to whatever is going on in your life, and make the most of it, and overcome the challenge, overcome the difficulty, overcome the hurdle, and eventually you'll be rewarded because of it. And again, on the other side of the coin, you have the samurai, who you can't really blame them for their actions. Imperial Japan, the westernization of Japan was trying to completely, eradicate them, basically, because they were a threat to them. And you can't really blame the samurai for taking the stance that they did. They were just trying to protect their culture and their history. The methods that Imperial Japan was using to, get rid of them aren't very humane. So you can't really blame them for their actions. But instead of trying to find some common footing with this inevitable change, they refuse to adapt to it, right? They refuse to acknowledge it almost, and just take this kind of stance to just fight to the bitter end, basically, which is not a very wise choice, obviously. At the end of the film, almost all the samurai are wiped out. Almost all of Algren's friends are wiped out, and the only sole survivor from from those battles is Algren, who was the person who was willing to adapt. Again, instead of the samurai trying to find some sort of common footing with Imperial Japan, instead of recognizing the fact that change doesn't mean that you give up your way of life or your tradition. It could still be kept alive in some shape or form. Instead of just trying to find more proactive solutions to the problem that they had in front of them, they just chose to fight. And you can say that a lot of it comes from their way of life, right? They were a proud people. Honor is a huge code of conduct and the samurai way of life. So again, you can't really blame them for the actions that they took. But the point I'm trying to make is their refusal to adapt to the change that was around them, and just kind of adopting this mentality of do or die, right? So again, ultimately, the samurai, most of Algren's friends are wiped out by the end of the film, and Algren was the only sole survivor from those battles. And I think the message is clear. It was because of his willingness to adapt to the changes in his environment, right? It was because of his willingness to change for the better and not stay stuck in his ways. So that was the main message that I got from this movie. The theme of adaptation and being willing to change, to accept the challenges in life, and to not just stay stuck in comfort, or and to just not stay stuck in one's ways. So that was the main message that I got from this film, the message of adaptation, the willingness to learn and adapt to changes in your life or to challenges in your life, and what the consequences are for the refusal to answer that call. Again, that like I said earlier, you shouldn't be so willing to just accept everything and anything that goes on around you. What I'm referring to is the willingness to adapt to challenge, right? To change, to the direction in your life, to a new direction in your life that will ultimately make you a better person. That's the type of adaptation and change that I'm referring to. So if you made it this far in the video, thank you so much for listening. If you're new to the channel, welcome. I just make videos on topics I find fascinating. I try to give my 2 cents on, films like this one, TV shows, anything that piques my interest in general. And from time to time, I also try to give, some advice based on personal experience that hopefully will help somebody out there. Thank you to all the viewers and subscribers to this channel. I'm sure if you stick around on this channel, there will be something here worthwhile for you, right? Something of value. Thank you once again, and I'll see you guys in the next one.